They were shouting, not whispering, not arguing, shouting like the verdict had already been signed. Put the dog down. Get it away from the child. Someone stop that animal before it kills him. The words collided in the air, sharp and desperate, ripping apart what had been an ordinary afternoon only moments before. Children froze mid-step. Conversations collapsed into silence. Phones rose instinctively, not to help, not to protect, but to capture. In the center of the chaos, a police dog stood perfectly still, and beside him, sitting on the rough concrete near the edge of the playground, a small boy clutched his hands to his chest as if letting go would cause something terrible to happen. The dog did not bark. He did not growl. He did not bare his teeth. But the crowd had already decided what they were seeing. No one noticed how the boy's shoulders trembled. No one noticed his fingers shaking violently. And no one noticed the single detail that would have explained everything, except the dog. Before we go any further, if you believe that truth often arrives too late, after fear has already done its damage, subscribe to Silent Hero Stories. Because this story exists for one reason, to show how easily a hero can become a target when people stop listening. The park had been crowded long before the shouting began. It was one of those rare afternoons when the weather felt generous. The air was warm without being heavy, the sky open and clear, the kind of day that convinced people nothing bad could possibly happen. Families had filled the space slowly. Parents sat on benches, scrolling through their phones. Grandparents watched from shaded corners. Children ran freely, laughing, bumping into one another, falling, getting back up again. The small, chaotic rhythm of a place where people felt safe enough to stop being careful. Officer Daniel Harris noticed that first. He always did. 15 years on the force had taught him that danger didn't announce itself loudly. It slipped in quietly, disguised as comfort. That was why he had chosen this park for his afternoon patrol. Not because there was a threat, but because there wasn't. That was when people needed watching the most. At his side walked Rex. The canine was no longer young. His movements were slower than they had been years ago, his once jet-black muzzle now dusted with grey, but his eyes were sharp, alert, constantly scanning. Rex wasn't just trained, he was seasoned. 8 years earlier, Rex had been assigned to Harris fresh out of the academy. They had grown together in a way that didn't require words. Harris learned to trust the subtle changes in Rex's posture. Rex learned the rhythm of Harris's breathing, the tone of his commands, the moments when silence mattered more than sound. They had found missing teenagers together. They had tracked armed suspects through dark alleys. They had stood between chaos and the people who never noticed how close it came. Not once had Rex failed to respond to a command. That fact sat heavy in Harris's chest when the scream tore through the park. It was a woman's voice, high, sharp, fractured by panic. "Someone help!" Harris turned instantly, his body moving before his mind could fully register the sound. His hand instinctively tightened on Rex's leash as his eyes searched for the source. Near the playground, a woman stood frozen, one hand covering her mouth, the other pointing violently. At first, Harris saw only movement, a small body on the ground, Rex standing close, people rushing in from every direction. From a distance, it looked wrong. From the wrong angle, it looked terrifying. Someone shouted that the dog had charged. Another yelled that the child had been knocked over. A third voice swore there was blood everywhere. Fear layered itself quickly, each assumption stacking on the last, building a story that felt real simply because so many people repeated it. Harris raised his voice immediately. "Rex, heel!" The command was clear, sharp, familiar. It was a command Rex had followed without hesitation thousands of times, but Rex did not move. The air shifted. The crowd noticed at the same moment Harris did. A murmur rippled outward, growing louder as confusion hardened into suspicion. Why isn't the dog moving? Is it disobeying? Is it trained properly? Harris felt a tight pressure bloom behind his ribs. He had never experienced this before. Not with Rex. Disobedience was not part of their vocabulary. He tried again, louder this time. "Rex, step back!" Still nothing. Rex stood firm, his body angled slightly forward, his muscles taut but not aggressive. His attention wasn't on the shouting. It wasn't even on Harris. It was locked on the space directly in front of the child. The boy sat frozen, tears streaking his face, his breathing uneven. He wasn't screaming anymore. His cries had softened into small, broken sounds, the kind a child makes when they're overwhelmed, not hurt. But the crowd didn't see that. They saw a large dog too close to a defenseless child. They saw authority losing control. They saw danger. A man pushed forward, his voice shaking with anger. "Why are you just standing there? Get that thing away from him." Another woman screamed that the police were irresponsible. Someone else demanded to know why weapons hadn't been drawn already. The words slipped out then, quiet at first, then louder. "Shoot it!" Harris's heart slammed against his chest. He felt the weight of every eye turned toward him. Cameras zoomed in, narratives formed in real time. The crowd didn't want hesitation, they wanted action. And action in moments like this often meant destruction. Harris's hand hovered near his radio, his mind racing through protocols, consequences, possibilities. If he pulled Rex back and the dog reacted unexpectedly, the crowd would panic further. If he drew his weapon, there was no reversing that image, even if he never fired. And if he hesitated too long, he looked at Rex again. Something about the dog's posture felt wrong, not in the way the crowd thought, but in a way Harris couldn't immediately name. Rex wasn't looming over the child. He wasn't focused on the boy's face or limbs. His weight was shifted slightly forward, his body acting like a barrier between the child and the ground. Harris took a slow step closer. The boy's small hands were clenched tightly against his chest. His fingers were white with tension, knuckles stiff as if he were holding onto something precious or dangerous. Still, no one noticed. The shouting grew louder. The space around them tightened. Harris felt the moment slipping away from him, control dissolving under the pressure of public certainty. Then the boy looked up. His eyes were red, swollen, searching, and in a voice so small it almost disappeared beneath the noise, he spoke. "He's keeping the bad thing away." The words didn't stop the shouting immediately. They landed unevenly, bouncing off disbelief, confusion, dismissal. "What bad thing?" someone asked sharply. The boy swallowed hard. His lower lip trembled. Slowly, painfully slowly, his fingers began to uncurl. Harris saw it at the same moment. Rex shifted his stance, adjusting by inches, to keep himself between the child and whatever lay beneath his hands. Metal caught the light, a shard of broken glass, jagged, dirty, sharp. Blood smeared along one edge, not in a spray, not in a violent arc, but in a thin line where skin had brushed against something unforgiving, a broken bottle. The realization rippled outward in silence. Harris dropped to his knees instantly, his voice calm now, controlled. He gently guided the child backward, away from the danger. The moment the boy moved, Rex relaxed, stepping aside without command, his task complete. The dog had never been guarding the child from himself. He had been guarding the child from what everyone else had missed. The park went quiet in a way Harris would remember for the rest of his life. No cheers, no applause, no relief loud enough to erase what had almost happened. Paramedics arrived quickly. They examined the boy, confirmed what Rex already knew. A shallow cut, no bite marks, no trauma beyond fear. The boy would be fine, but Harris knew something else wouldn't be, because the first videos had already been uploaded. Not the truth, but the accusation. Clips of Rex refusing commands, angles that hid the glass, captions written by fear instead of fact. And once a narrative escaped into the world, it rarely waited for correction. Harris stood slowly, resting a hand on Rex's back. The dog leaned into the touch, calm, unaware of how close he had come to being destroyed by misunderstanding. Harris looked at the crowd, at the people who had screamed the loudest, demanded the fastest punishment, reached for certainty without patience. None of them met his eyes, because it's easier to accuse than to admit how wrong you were. And this was only the beginning. That night, the video spread faster than the truth ever could. By the time Officer Daniel Harris arrived home, his phone was already vibrating non-stop. Notifications stacked one over another, messages arriving from numbers he didn't recognize, alerts from platforms he barely used. He ignored them at first, telling himself it was nothing more than routine chatter. People always recorded police interactions now. Most of it faded within hours. This one didn't. The first clip had been uploaded less than 10 minutes after the incident. It was short, cropped, shaky, and perfectly designed to mislead. From that angle, Rex looked immobile. From that angle, the child's hands were hidden. From that angle, the glass didn't exist. The caption was simple, accusatory. Police dog refuses command near child. Within an hour, it had thousands of views. By midnight, it had hundreds of thousands. By morning, it was everywhere. Harris sat alone at his kitchen table, the glow of his phone illuminating the exhaustion on his face. He watched the same clip over and over, each time noticing how the truth had been sliced away by framing alone. He scrolled through the comments slowly, his jaw tightening with every word. Untrained animals shouldn't be near kids. That cop froze. Pathetic. Shoot the dog before it kills someone. Why do they even allow this? People spoke with certainty, born not from knowledge, but from distance. They filled the gaps with imagination and called it judgment. Harris closed the app, his hands shaking. Rex lay nearby, stretched out on the floor, his breathing slow and steady. He lifted his head briefly when Harris stood, tail thumping once against the tile before settling again. He had no idea the world was turning against him. At the station the next morning, the atmosphere felt different, quieter. Eyes followed Harris as he walked in. Conversation stopped when he passed. Not hostile, not yet, but cautious, careful, as if proximity alone carried risk. The captain called him into the office before he could even reach his locker. The door closed softly behind them. "Sit," the captain said. Harris did. The captain rubbed his temples, then slid a tablet across the desk. The paused video filled the screen. The same clip, the same angle, the same absence of truth. "You know why you're here," the captain said. Harris nodded. "Sir, that video doesn't show what actually—" "I know," the captain interrupted gently. "But the public doesn't." He leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. "There's an internal review starting today. Standard procedure. Rex is being temporarily pulled from active duty." Harris's chest tightened. "Temporarily?" The captain hesitated. "For now." Harris understood what that meant. Temporary was the word departments used when they were waiting to see which way the pressure would push them. "And the crowd?" Harris asked. "The full footage?" "It's circulating," the captain said, "but outrage spreads faster than corrections. You know that." Harris did know. Too well. Rex was placed in a kennel that afternoon. It wasn't punishment, it wasn't cruelty, but it felt like exile. The K9 unit had always been noisy. Barking, movement, handlers calling commands. That day, it felt subdued. Rex entered the kennel calmly, obedient as always, trusting that Harris would return. Harris lingered longer than necessary, resting his forehead briefly against the cold metal bars. "This will pass," he whispered. He hoped he was right. Outside the station, reporters gathered by the end of the day. Microphones, cameras, questions sharpened into accusations before they were even asked. "Officer Harris, why didn't you restrain the dog? Was the child in danger? Should the K9 program be re-evaluated?" Harris answered carefully, repeating the same sentence again and again. The dog was protecting the child from a hazard, but repetition didn't matter. Drama did. Headlines twisted the story further. "Police dog defies orders near child. Community outraged after K9 incident. Questions raised over police animal training." By the second night, threats appeared. Not directed at Harris, at Rex. Emails demanding euthanasia, comments celebrating the idea, messages filled with violent certainty from people who had never met the dog, never seen the truth, never paused long enough to ask. Harris stopped reading, but the damage continued without him. The child's family had gone silent. The boy's mother refused interviews, shielding her son from cameras and questions he was too young to understand. Rumors filled the void left by her absence. Some claimed the family was being paid to stay quiet. Others said they were hiding something worse. None of it was true, but truth was no longer the currency being traded. The internal review moved quickly, not because the department wanted answers, but because they wanted resolution. Pressure from city officials mounted. Sponsors questioned policies. Community leaders demanded statements. Rex's future became a line item in a meeting full of people who had never worked beside him. He ignored a direct command, one official said flatly. "That's dangerous," another added. "We can't risk public trust," a third concluded. Harris sat in the room silent, his fists clenched beneath the table. "He didn't ignore me," Harris finally said. "He assessed a threat faster than we did." The room shifted uncomfortably. "That may be your interpretation," someone replied, "but perception matters. Perception, a word heavy enough to outweigh years of service." The footage showing the glass was presented, slowed down, zoomed in, explained. Some nodded, some frowned, some remained unmoved. Fear, once established, doesn't release easily. That evening, Harris visited Rex again. The dog stood when he saw him, tail wagging once before settling into stillness. His eyes searched Harris's face, waiting for a command, for purpose. Harris knelt, pressing his hand against Rex's chest, feeling the steady rhythm beneath the fur. "You did exactly what you were trained to do," he murmured. Rex leaned forward, resting his head against Harris's shoulder. Outside the kennel, footsteps approached. A young officer stopped nearby, hesitating. "Sir," he said quietly, "I just wanted to say, I saw the full video." Harris looked up. "My little sister cut herself on glass last year," the officer continued. "Bad. No one saw it until it was too late." He swallowed. "Rex saw it." Harris nodded once. Support came in whispers, not headlines. Meanwhile, the internet moved on to its next target, but not before leaving scars. A city council meeting was scheduled. The topic was clear: K9 Program Safety Review. Rex's name wasn't on the agenda, but everyone knew it was about him. And as Harris left the station that night, he couldn't shake the feeling that the worst decision hadn't been made yet, only delayed. The word appeared on the document in black, unemotional letters: euthanasia. Officer Daniel Harris stared at it longer than he should have, long enough for the letters to stop looking like a word and start looking like a sentence, a final one. The recommendation had come quietly. No press conference, no announcement. Just a formal report circulated between departments, city officials and legal advisors who spoke in measured tones about liability, perception and risk management. Rex's name appeared only once. K9 involved in incident, as if 8 years of service could be reduced to a single line. Harris felt something hollow open in his chest. Not shock, not anger, but a heavy, suffocating inevitability. This was how it happened now. Not with evidence, not with truth, but with pressure. The captain called him into the office again that afternoon. This time the door stayed open. "We haven't made a decision," the captain said carefully, "but we're running out of room to maneuver." Harris stood. He didn't sit this time. "You're talking about killing a dog who saved a child," the captain didn't argue. "That's not how it's being framed." "How is it being framed, sir?" "As a necessary precaution." Harris laughed once, bitter and sharp. Precaution against what? Competence?" The captain sighed. "Daniel, you know how this works. One incident becomes a symbol, and symbols don't care about context." Outside the office, voices echoed through the hallway. Officers moved with forced normalcy, but the tension sat thick in the air. Everyone knew. No one said it out loud. Rex was scheduled for behavioral re-evaluation. The term sounded clinical, harmless, but Harris knew what it meant. A formality. Rex was led into a sterile room 2 days later. White walls, cameras mounted high in the corners, a one-way mirror that reflected nothing back. The evaluator was polite, distant, professional. "Standard procedure," she said. "Just answer when appropriate." Rex sat calmly at Harris's side, ears alert, posture steady. The tests were simple at first. Commands, movements, simulated distractions. Rex passed them all. Then came the scenarios. A doll dropped suddenly to the floor. Rex did not react. A loud noise. Rex held position. A child's recorded scream played through speakers. Rex's ears twitched, but he remained under control. Harris watched every movement, every shift of muscle, every breath. "Now we'll repeat the incident," the evaluator said. A small object was placed on the floor near a child-sized mannequin. Rex stiffened, not in aggression, in focus. Harris felt his throat tighten. Rex moved, not toward the mannequin, but between it and the object. His body became a barrier, his attention locked on the hazard. "Recall," the evaluator said. Harris didn't speak. "Officer Harris," she prompted. Harris swallowed. "Rex," he said quietly. "Heel." Rex did not move. The evaluator made a note. "That," she said, "is the concern." Harris turned to her slowly. "That is the proof." She met his gaze, uncomfortable but unmoved. "Public interpretation matters," she repeated, as if reciting a policy rather than an opinion. The evaluation ended without confrontation. Rex was led back to his kennel. Harris stayed behind, staring at the empty room. That evening, the city announced a public hearing. The language was careful. Community Safety Forum, K9 Program Review. The date was set for the following week. The internet reignited instantly. Some defended Rex, sharing the full footage, slowing it down, explaining what had happened. Others doubled down, accusing the Department of Manipulation of hiding something darker. Harris stayed offline. He spent his nights at the kennel. Rex seemed smaller there, quieter, not broken, just waiting. Dogs understood waiting better than people did. 3 days before the hearing, Harris received a message he hadn't expected. It was from an unknown number. "This is Ethan's mother. I need to talk to you." Harris stared at the screen, his pulse quickening. They met at a small cafe on the edge of town, a place without cameras, without noise. The woman looked tired, older than she should have been, the kind of exhaustion that settled into the bones. She held her coffee with both hands, as if warmth was something she had to fight for. "I didn't want this," she said quietly. "Any of it." Harris nodded. "Neither did we." She took a breath. "Ethan keeps asking about the dog." Harris felt a sharp ache behind his eyes. "He says the dog was scared people would take him away," she continued. "He doesn't understand why being good made things worse." Harris didn't trust himself to speak. "I stayed quiet because they told me it would help," she said, "that if I didn't talk, it would calm things down." She laughed softly, humorless. "It didn't." Harris leaned forward. "Would you be willing to speak at the hearing?" Her hands trembled slightly. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "But I'm more terrified of teaching my son that telling the truth doesn't matter." The hearing room was full, too full. Cameras lined the walls. Reporters whispered. Community members filled every seat, some wearing shirts printed with slogans, both for and against the K9 program. Rex was not present. Harris stood alone at the front when his turn came, his voice steady but low. He explained the training, the behavior, the glass, the positioning. Some listened, some didn't. Then Ethan's mother stood. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't accuse, she simply told the story. She spoke about the fall, about the glass, about how she hadn't noticed it until it was almost too late. "And the dog," she said, her voice breaking, "stood between my son and something that could have hurt him badly." She looked around the room. "You can call that disobedience," she said. "I call it protection." Silence followed. Not applause. Something heavier. Uncertainty. The kind that cracks certainty open. Outside the hearing, cameras swarmed again. This time the questions changed. "Do you still believe the dog should be euthanized? Is the department reconsidering? What message does this send?" Inside, the decision was delayed. Just delayed. Harris returned to the kennel that night, kneeling in front of Rex. "We're not done yet," he whispered. Rex pressed his head into Harris's chest. And for the first time since the incident, Harris allowed himself a fragile, dangerous thing: hope. The decision was scheduled for Friday morning. No announcement, no audience, no cameras. Just a closed-door meeting between city officials, legal advisors, and department leadership who spoke softly about consequences while pretending they weren't talking about a life. Officer Daniel Harris found out the night before. He sat in his car outside the station long after his shift ended. The engine off, the radio silent, the dashboard clock ticking forward with cruel indifference. Every minute felt heavier than the last. Friday, tomorrow. Rex lay in his kennel when Harris finally walked in, his ears lifting instantly at the sound of footsteps. His tail wagged once, slow and hopeful, as if this were any other visit, as if the world hadn't shifted around him. Harris knelt. For a long time, he said nothing. He rested his forehead against the cool metal bars and closed his eyes, breathing in the familiar scent of fur, disinfectant, and concrete. He had spent years teaching Rex to be calm in chaos. Now, the chaos was his own. "I tried," Harris whispered finally. "I swear I did." Rex tilted his head slightly, studying him, searching for meaning not in words but in tone. He pressed his body closer to the gate, close enough that Harris could feel his warmth through the steel. Harris's hands trembled as he reached through, gripping Rex's collar gently, not to restrain him, but to remind himself he was real. "I don't know how to stop this," he admitted. The guilt was unbearable, not because he believed Rex had done wrong, but because Harris knew how systems worked. He had enforced rules long enough to recognize when they stopped serving justice and started serving fear. He stayed there until the lights dimmed automatically, until the station grew quiet, until the only sounds were Rex's breathing and his own uneven heartbeat. When Harris finally stood, Rex rose too, alert, ready, waiting for a command that never came. "I'll be back in the morning," Harris said, forcing the words out. Rex's tail wagged again. That night, Harris didn't sleep. He sat at his kitchen table, staring at a legal pad filled with notes he had already memorized. Timelines, statements, footage timestamps, every angle that proved Rex's innocence. None of it mattered anymore. At 6:13 a.m., his phone rang. It was the captain. "We're meeting at 9, he said quietly. "I wanted you to hear it from me." Harris swallowed. "Is there anything?" "There's one more thing," the captain interrupted. "A development." Harris's pulse spiked. "What kind of development?" The captain hesitated. Someone came forward last night. The meeting room was smaller than Harris expected. No windows. No flags, no ceremony. Just a long table and people who avoided eye contact. Rex's file sat in the center. Harris stood at the far end, hands clasped behind his back, posture rigid. The city attorney cleared her throat. "Before we proceed, we've received new information." A man entered the room slowly, escorted by an assistant. He looked uncomfortable, middle-aged, ordinary, the kind of man no one ever noticed unless something went wrong. "I was there," the man said quietly, "at the park." Harris recognized him immediately. He was the one who had been shouting the loudest. The man shifted his weight, staring at the table. "I broke the bottle." The room stilled. "I was sitting near the trash can," he continued. "Dropped it. It shattered. I meant to clean it up, but my phone rang. I stepped away. I didn't think—" His voice cracked. "I didn't think a kid would fall." Harris felt his chest tighten. "I saw the dog," the man said. "Saw him move, and I panicked. I yelled. I made it worse." Silence pressed in from all sides. The attorney leaned forward. "Are you saying the dog prevented the child from further injury?" "Yes," the man said immediately. "That dog did exactly what he was supposed to do." The room shifted. Papers were adjusted. Notes rewritten. Truth had finally arrived. Late, painfully, and inconveniently. The captain spoke first. "This changes things." "Not enough, but some." The legal advisor frowned. Public perception is wrong," Harris said, his voice sharp for the first time. "And now you know it." The attorney exhaled slowly. "We'll need to reassess." Reassess. Another delay. But this time, it felt different. Harris left the room with his heart pounding, his mind racing ahead to Rex. He didn't wait for permission. He went straight to the kennel. Rex stood the moment he saw him. Harris laughed, a sound halfway between relief and breaking, and dropped to his knees, wrapping his arms around the dog through the open gate as an officer quietly unlocked it. "It's not over," Harris whispered into Rex's fur. "But you're still here." Rex pressed his head into Harris's chest, tail thumping hard now, joy uncomplicated and complete. Outside, the news shifted again. New headlines replaced the old ones. New witness confirms K9 acted appropriately. Bottle shard identified as true hazard. City reconsiders K9 euthanasia decision. Public opinion wavered. Some apologized. Some stayed silent. Some pretended they'd never been certain in the first place. But Harris knew the truth. Justice didn't arrive cleanly. It arrived after damage had already been done. That night, Ethan visited the station. He walked slowly, holding his mother's hand, eyes wide, cautious. Rex sat patiently, unmoving, letting the child decide. Ethan approached, then stopped. "Are they going to take him away?" he asked quietly. Harris knelt beside him. "No," he said. "He's staying." Ethan smiled, relief blooming across his face. "He's a good listener," the boy said. He knew. Rex leaned forward gently, pressing his nose into Ethan's palm. Sometimes, knowing is enough. The announcement came early. Too early for comfort. Too early for certainty. Officer Daniel Harris stood at the back of the press room as city officials filed in one by one, arranging papers, clearing throats, rehearsing words that had already been rewritten a dozen times. Cameras were set up in neat rows. Microphones waited, patient and unforgiving. Rex was not in the room. He was back in the K9 unit, pacing slowly, unaware that his life had been debated like a budget line. The city spokesperson stepped forward. "After a thorough review," she began, her voice controlled, practiced, "the department has determined that the K9 involved in the recent incident acted within training protocols and in the best interest of public safety." A pause. "The recommendation for euthanasia has been formally withdrawn." The room exhaled. Some reporters leaned forward. Others glanced down, already reframing headlines in their minds. "So the dog will not be put down?" someone asked. "That is correct." Harris closed his eyes briefly. Relief hit him, not like joy, but like collapse, the kind that leaves your knees weak long after the danger has passed. Questions followed. Why had it taken so long? Why had the decision ever been considered? What safeguards would be put in place? The spokesperson answered carefully, choosing words that spread responsibility thinly enough to settle nowhere. Harris didn't listen. He was already moving. When he reached the K9 unit, Rex lifted his head, ears forward, eyes bright. Harris dropped to one knee and opened his arms. Rex crossed the space between them without hesitation. No leash, no command, just trust. Harris buried his face in Rex's fur, breathing deeply, grounding himself in the simple truth that the dog was still here, alive, whole, unpunished. "You're safe," Harris whispered. "You're staying." Rex's tail wagged hard, thumping against Harris's leg, joy uncomplicated and immediate. Later that day, the full video was released officially, unedited, uncropped, clear. It showed the glass, the positioning, the boy's words, and it showed something else, something the shorter clips never could: patience. The internet reacted the only way it knew how. Some apologized loudly, some deleted comments quietly, some refused to engage at all. A few doubled down, unwilling to surrender certainty even in the face of evidence. But the narrative had shifted, not completely. Enough. The department issued Rex a commendation for situational awareness and protective response. A ceremony was held. Small, understated, intentionally quiet. Harris stood beside Rex as a medal was placed gently against his chest. Cameras clicked. Rex blinked, unimpressed. Ethan attended with his mother. He wore a shirt 2 sizes too big and held a small paper bag in his hands. When it was his turn, he stepped forward shyly and held the bag out to Rex. "I brought snacks," he said. Rex sat, very seriously. The room laughed softly. Afterward, as people filtered out, Ethan tugged on Harris's sleeve. "They yelled at him," the boy said quietly. Harris nodded. "They did. But he didn't leave," Ethan continued. "Even when they were mad." Harris looked at Rex, then back at the child. "No," he said. "He stayed." Ethan thought about that for a long moment. "My mom says grown-ups don't always listen," he said. "That's true," Harris replied. "But he listened," Ethan said, pointing at Rex. Harris smiled. "He did. Life didn't return to normal overnight. It never does." Harris noticed how differently people looked at Rex now, with admiration, with caution, with the kind of respect that comes after shame. Some officers avoided the subject altogether. Others apologized quietly for not speaking up sooner. Harris accepted none of it personally. What mattered was that Rex was back on duty, not because he needed redemption, but because the world did. Weeks passed. The story faded from headlines, replaced by louder, newer outrage. But it lingered in conversations, in training rooms, in policy meetings where someone would inevitably say, "Remember that K9 case?" Rex and Harris returned to patrol. On a quiet afternoon, they passed the same park. Harris slowed. The playground looked unchanged. The same benches, the same swings, the same illusion of safety. But Harris knew better now. He stopped near the spot where it had all happened. Rex paused, sniffed the air, then sat beside him, calm and present. Children played nearby. Parents talked. No one noticed them. And that was fine. Sometimes the highest praise is invisibility. As they turned to leave, Harris felt a strange clarity settle over him. The hardest part hadn't been almost losing Rex. It had been realizing how easily fear convinces people they're right. That night, Harris wrote a letter he would never send. It wasn't addressed to the city, or the internet, or the people who had screamed the loudest. It was to Rex. He wrote about trust, about patience, about standing still when the world demands movement. He folded the paper and placed it in a drawer. Rex slept nearby, dreaming quietly. Sometimes heroes don't roar. They don't defend themselves. They don't argue their case. They don't demand to be understood. Sometimes they simply do the right thing and trust that someone eventually will notice. And sometimes that someone is a child. If this story made you uncomfortable, that's because it should have. Subscribe to Silent Hero Stories if you believe real heroes don't always look the way we expect. And tell us in the comments, would you have trusted the dog or the crowd?